Good morning, how are you? Good morning everyone, thank you very much for coming along. I know that it's very much out there how expensive childcare is, so one of the things that we wanted to talk to you this morning about was how you can actually lessen the burden, the financial burden for yourself by making sure that you at least look to see whether or not you're eligible for those childcare rebates. It's not only within childcare. I'm here to talk to you about the rebates that are eligible for all of the services that NannySA and the Hessel Group have. So what I'm going to do is just go through those services and the rebates with you, and at any time while I'm presenting this, if you have a question, please put your hand up, because we'll share the question with the rest of the audience, because quite often people want to know the same thing or have a similar question, and I'll just come to you as we're talking. All right, so the things that I want to present to you today are the different services. So what I'll do is I'll start with the different services. So at NannySA and the Hessel Group, the first service that I'll talk about is our in-home care service. To be eligible for in-home care, you need to be working outside of the hours of normal childcare. So if you're working from 12 in the afternoon through till 7 o'clock that night, and childcare centres generally close around 6:30, then you may be eligible to access in-home care. In-home care gives you the same opportunity to access the rebates as the everyday childcare service does. In-home care is also available for families who have multiple births, and if you have more than 2 children under the age of 5 not going to school. So you would be able to contact and see whether or not you're eligible for in-home care. The other service that we have is, of course, our long daycare childcare. They're called Bubble and Squeak childcare centres, and we have 6 of those. So there is 1 in Smithfield Plains, 2 in the northeast, Golden Grove and Gillis Plains, 1 in the south, Aldinga Beach, 2 in the regional areas, Port Pirie and Port Augusta. They're the 2 types of services that I'm going to talk about first in terms of your rebates. The first thing that you need to do when you're looking for childcare or a nanny or an in-home service is register with Centrelink to say that you're going to be using one of these services. You'll be asked a series of questions to determine the family income. The family income will then determine for them what percentage you can have for a rebate. So I'm going to give you some examples. If, for example, the family is earning less than $145,000 combined income, you are then eligible for the childcare rebate. If the 2 children, you can earn up to $150,900, so nearly $151,000, and you're eligible for the childcare rebate. For 3 children under 5, you can earn up to $170,000 and still claim the childcare benefit. For each additional child, so let's say we have 2 sets of twins, and I'm really thinking you're going to be needing help if you've got 2 sets of twins under the age of 5, you can have an additional $32,000 for each child. Earn up to $32,000, I beg your pardon, for each additional child. So essentially then that would take you up to $210,000 for 4 children under the age of 5 that you can earn before you're cut off from the childcare benefit. On top of the childcare benefit, if you are working, there is the childcare rebate, which was then look at the gap fee that you're paying, and you get 50% back of that as well. So I'm just going to give you an example of what that might look like. I'll do 1 day and the maximum rebate. So let's say the average childcare fee, according to the paper today, is $79. So let's say the centre fee is $79 and you are eligible to receive 100% childcare benefit. That would bring your out-of-pocket expense back down to $29. So from 79, we're now going down to 29. I'll do another example of 3 days. So if you had a child coming 3 days, we're going back to work part-time. Now there's a combined income. So let's now say our percentage of the childcare benefit has gone right down to 32 because there's 2 people working again and we're going down to 32%. So for 3 days, your cost at the service is $238. But once you put in the childcare benefit, it will reduce by $48. Now that's not a lot. The second layer that you're looking for now, because you're working, is the childcare rebate. And that's the one that will bring it right back down. So in the first example where I said you were going to be paying $29, I'm now going to do there's more, and that's the childcare rebate. And that will bring you right down to $17 a day. So you were looking at $79, now we're looking at $17. So there's quite a difference there. So you need to really be sure that you know the questions to ask of what you actually can access. If I look at the one that was $238, if I can put the childcare benefit at 32%, and the rebate, you'll be out-of-pocket expenses will be $109. So from $238 to $109 for 3 days of care, which actually isn't as bad as we imagine it will be. Now, for the childcare rebate, it is 50% of the gap fee. But very often, if it's the first year that you're doing it or have started to claim, the out-of-gap fee that will be applied is 35% of it, not the full 50%. Because what happens is at the end of the financial year, when you lodge your tax return, that other 15% will then be added on to your rebate that you might get at the end of the financial year. And they do that just in case there is a mistake of overpayment or whatever during the year. It's a protective measure for you, essentially, so that you haven't overclaimed. So that's for in-home care, where you now have a nanny in-home. You can claim that if you meet the criteria for in-home care. That's also now for childcare. There are some other options that you can look at. So if you are a grandparent who has full-time care, or you are the primary carer of your grandchild and you already access other supporting benefits, there is a support benefit called the grandparent childcare benefit, which means that there is no cost for the grandparent for that child to come to care. So very often these days that does happen, where grandparents do have full custody and or they are the primary carer of their grandchildren for whatever reason. In that case, there is no cost whatsoever. There is another layer for families whose primary carers are studying or training within a study as well. For the people who are out there studying and they are studying during childcare hours, there is a rebate called JET. JET says then that supporting benefit says that the childcare fee, no matter what the centre actual fees are, it's $12 a day for the parent. So you have to be eligible to get the childcare benefit to actually access JET. With the childcare benefit, if you're a non-working parent, you can get up to 24 hours of care. If you're a working parent, you can get up to 50 hours, and there are some special circumstances where you can actually get up to 60 hours. Now, 50 hours will not give you a full 5 days because most childcare centres operate at 12 hours a day, so it's counted in 4 days as 48, and you'll get a tiny bit of the 5th day. So if you're in a circumstance that you are working 5 days a week, and particularly for parents who are sole parents, you need to ask the question at Centrelink whether or not you can apply for 60 hours if that is the case. With JET, if you are non-working and your childcare benefit is for 24 hours, that is what your JET will give you, unless you ask for more. So you need to always know the questions to ask. And I think that's the trick for most people. It's knowing the questions to ask. And one of the things that I recommend that you do is, if you are looking at childcare and you go to your childcare service, ask them the questions that you need to ask at Centrelink to access all of the rebates that are available. Let them know if you're a working parent, if you're a non-working parent. There is also special childcare benefit. Now, special childcare benefit can be applied to childcare and to the in-home care. Special childcare benefit is given for particular circumstances. So if there is short-term financial hardship, or if there is something happening within the family that appears to put the child at risk. Now, don't be frightened by that, because sometimes a child at risk is because mummy has always been primary carer. She's now ill. So the risk is that the level of care isn't as high. It doesn't mean anything other than that. So sometimes people are a bit nervous of that, but it does mean that for a short period you could have childcare or in-home care at no cost. It's covered. It's completely covered. You can get it up to 13 weeks, and that can be approved at the childcare centre itself or at the in-home care service itself. If people require a second lot of 13 weeks outside, within that financial year, it has to be approved at Centrelink level. But generally speaking, I've not come across any situation where it has not been authorised. So 26 weeks, that's 6 months. If someone's needing it because of financial hardship, you actually should be able to access it if you know, again, the right questions to ask and who to talk to. Now, one of the other services that I wanted to talk to you about that the Hessel Group has, we are now an approved provider for the National Disability Scheme. So within that scheme, if there are children in the home under the age of 5 and a child has a disability, you may be eligible to have support for yourself and for the child in the home at no cost. These sorts of services, sorry, I'm just going to grab my notes because there's quite a few. The services that we are able to provide in the home under that scheme is assistance with personal activities. We can also help with household tasks. We can help with the physical well-being, and we can assist with the integration of the child into school or other educational facilities. And this is once again where childcare comes in. So children with disabilities are able to come to childcare with the support of one of the they're not actually one of the carers who can actually help the child integrate into childcare before they go into school or go into school as well, and that is at no cost. You do need to meet the criteria, and there will be a specific criteria to actually be able to use it, but once again, you would only need to make that inquiry to NannySA, and they will be able to help you through that. The other part that we can do with that is participation, help with participation in the community, and also social and civic activities. And sometimes that's about mums and dads wanting to participate, and therefore our carer helps with the child while mum and dad have the ability to still have the opportunity to participate in whatever activities that they're wanting to do. So overall, what I'm wanting you to know is that when you're reading how expensive it is, there are so many ways that you actually can reduce that fee. One of the things that I also strongly recommend with the childcare rebate, there are boxes to tick. One where you pay to yourself and one where you pay to other, and that means that the rebate is going to go directly to the service. I strongly recommend that you do pay to service, because that's how you're going to reduce what you're paying over the counter. If you pay to yourself, you're going to get the difference of the childcare benefit, but you're not going to get that 50% on your account. When you have your account, you should be able to clearly identify what the service fee is or the centre fee is, what the childcare benefit is that you're getting in dollars, and what the childcare rebate is in dollars, and what your gap fee is in dollars. You should be able to see that quite clearly, and if you can't, ask for it to be presented so that you know everything is the way it should be. The thing I should mention also is that with the childcare rebate, now that's the tax rebate essentially, there is a cut-off of $7,500 per annum per child for this financial year, finishing on the June 30th. So $7,500 is the maximum that you can claim in any 1 year per child, which actually still is quite a lot, because if that's half of your gap fee, that's $15,000 that you've spent in childcare, not counting your childcare benefit. So it's actually quite a lot. It would take you almost for a whole year if you were able to access childcare benefit as well. I'm actually going to pause to see if anyone has any specific questions at this point, just in terms of what I've been talking about. I'm just going to come down to you so you can share your question with everyone.
If your partner's on a bridging visa,
Yes.
like she's English,
Yes.
is there something I can claim or something?
Yeah, so the question is if you have a partner or a spouse who's on a bridging visa. So if she's on a bridging visa, and is she working? No, so she can't work while she's on a bridging visa? Okay, and she is still the prime carer. I would look to see whether or not you can be the prime carer, and you put in your reference number. You're working? Yes? Yes, it doesn't matter whether it's your own business or whether you're an employee. So you might look to see if you can switch it over and have your customer reference number aligned with the children, and you may then be able to access it. I'm not saying you can, but it's certainly something that I would investigate. Yes. Any other questions? No? So, yes? Yes.
So if my husband is also we're married and on a marriage visa.
Yes.
So he's entitled to work and he is working.
Yes.
So does that mean that he's
Yes. If you're working and you're able to work, are you working? Yes, you're both working. So you should be able to make the inquiry for the childcare benefit and the childcare rebate, both. You're both working. If you're both allowed to work, you should both be able to at least make the inquiry. I don't know whether there's a cut-off point in terms of the visa, but not that I'm aware of. So, but no, you should definitely be able to make that inquiry. Yep. One of the other things that I also recommend is you will be asked the question of how soon will your child be starting care. And I know that some people say 6 months, and they'll say, well, come back in 6 months. But what if you change your mind and you want it next week, just as a one-off? So say next week. Because that way you're prepared. You can go in, because you do have casual bookings. People can just do it on a casual basis as a one-off. You can do the transition where you might only go once this month and once next month before you start full-time care, or even part-time care. So I always say, look, within 2 weeks, and so it gets things moving. Then when you go to a childcare centre to make the inquiry and you actually take up the booking, because it's all done in the background just with remote data entry from the childcare centre through to DWA, which is how the childcare rebate and the benefit gets applied, they simply can go into their software and input your details, do an update, and all of your details and all of your rebates that you've applied for will automatically come through once those details have been submitted through at the centre level. So you'll know straight away, or you should be able to find out almost immediately at the centre what your actual fee will be on the day. And certainly you can at Bubble and Squeak. I imagine that you can in other services as well. All right, how are we going? I have one more question.
Just want to talk about the income test.
Yes.
Is that on the gross income or taxable income?
It's the income test is on your gross income. Yes. So, and it will look at all income. So whether it's combined or whether it's single, but it is on the gross. Yes. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your wonderful listening ears today. If you have any other questions, I am going to be at booth D14, and if you have any further questions, I might be able to do some singular answers with you there. And I invite you to come over and have a look at our services. Thanks very much. Have a great day.